who are now watching Demish.
There are so many classic Nintendo games, from Donkey Kong to the Mario Brothers where you don't stomp on Koopas, to the Super Mario Brothers where you do stomp on Koopas, and many others such as The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and even Duck Hunt. Nintendo has put out some truly iconic games, but even when they're drastically different gameplay-wise, a lot of Nintendo's most popular games have something in common. They're developed by Nintendo. All jokes aside, many of them are designed by Shigeru Miyamoto, and most games that he made ended up being a hit. But for every Mickey Mouse, there has to be a Pluto Jr. One of Miyamoto's most obscure games is none other than Radar Scope. What, you thought I was gonna bring up something devilish? Actually, I will, because Radar Scope has nothing to do with Halloween. But there is something that separates Radar Scope from the game I'm covering today. Radar Scope is simply obscure due to the fact that it failed. Devil World, on the other hand, was actively banned. Nintendo of America had strict regulations about what NES games would be released. That meant no Pac-Man games made in 6 weeks, no games made by dog food companies, and no potentially obscene right now games. And one of the rules was no games including religious aspects, hence why Devil World never saw a release in North America. But that won't stop me from playing the game, and you're getting a retrospective of it, even if it's the last thing I do. And I think I've secured a copy.
Junior, we have earned this. No Mario to disturb our family vacation either this time. Plus, I kinda like the environment here. That crocodile's wasting all the tomato juice! After him!
After a really good vacation to hell, I now have a copy of Devil World. It was all worth it, considering the NES version goes for over 150 euros, although I don't know why my copy is a weird modular cartridge that looks like a Famicom. Hold up. So I just went to hell over a $15 game. My life truly is like an episode of Regular Show. Well, we got a cool story out of it. In case you didn't know, you can play Famicom games on the NES. All you need is a 60 to 72 pin adapter, such as the one here. So the question is Devil World a sin worth playing, or is it a hellish fiery nightmare on the scale of Nintendo Switch Sports? Well, that was anticlimactic. Devil World has our protagonist Tamagon the Green Dragon go on a quest to stop the devil. Now, I've heard of a man of God, but until now, I've never heard of a dragon of God. Saying Tamagon is doing God's work is hardly a metaphor here. Already, this is a very weird concept for a game, even by Nintendo standards, but if anything, I'm more intrigued than ever to see what the game is actually like. It's a well-known fact Miyamoto's favorite game character isn't Mario, but Pac-Man, and you can definitely see influence of the Pac-Man series in his games. I wouldn't be surprised if Super Mario Bros. Took inspiration from Pac-Land, but nowhere is this more apparent than in Devil World. The core gameplay is very similar to Pac-Man where you go through a maze eating dots, but Devil World has many aspects that prevent it from just being another Pac-Man clone. In order to pick up the dots, you'll need to pick up a cross, so what I'm assuming is Tamagon needs to be blessed before taking communion wafers, but if you're Greek Orthodox like myself, the dots could be on Didero. With the NES, it's really hard to tell. There are also enemies who will go after him, but with the powers of the cross, Tamagon can breathe fire on the enemies, turning them into sunny side up eggs he can eat for extra points. I see he's following Thou Shall Not Kill, and went for something along the lines of Thou shall turn enemies into sunny side up eggs, and then eat them afterwards. How is it possible for this game to get any weirder? And along the way, he can eat ice cream cones for extra points. Wow. What a bizarre game. Once all the dots are eaten, the level is cleared. The next stage has a different objective. Rather than eating the dots, Tamagon needs to carry Bibles to seal a gate. They're different than the crosses because you can hold them for an unlimited amount of time, and you can still breathe fire with them. But once you clear the second level, the devil will be defeated and the game will repeat, but it will get harder. Mazes will become faster and the undefeatable devil enemies will start appearing. The two levels are structurally different. but the main gimmick that separates Devil World from Pac-Man, other than being unbelievably weird, is that the mazes scroll automatically. The devil will point in the direction that the maze will move, and if Tamagon gets stuck, he'll get squished. I've never been a fan of underwater or auto-scrolling levels, so I'm already iffy on the concept. The auto-scrolling doesn't ruin the game, but I find it to be completely unnecessary outside of the sake of making Devil World different from Pac-Man. But even without the auto-scrolling, there are enough differences from Pac-Man to make Devil World stand out. The question is, are they good mechanics? For the most part, I would say yes. Breathing fire on the enemies sort of reminded me of the power-ups in Pac-and-Pal, and it's really fun to do. I don't know why they turn into eggs. I think Eggplant would have been far more fitting considering the NES era's obsession with them. But regardless, the mechanics here are mostly fun. Devil World is an absolutely bizarre game, but not due to weird gameplay mechanics that are confusing. The general gameplay is understandable for pretty much anyone. Where the game is really weird is just with the theming itself, bringing us into the presentation of the game. The presentation of Devil World is about what you'd expect from an early NES game. It's nowhere near as advanced as late games like Super Mario Bros. 3, but it retains the charm Nintendo games are known for. The character designs are great, although I'm not sure how to feel about the devil being blue and wearing Theedros. Tamagon himself looks like the result of a Bubble Bobble and a Yoshi after a typical OkCupid meeting. And speaking of Yoshi, it's not unfair to assume Tamagon is also part of the Yoshi family, not only because of the way he looks, but because of this sound effect. That is the same sound as Yoshi hatching from an egg in Super Mario World. Yup, this guy is definitely related to Yoshi. Music, on the other hand, like with most early Nintendo games, isn't present. Throughout the mazes, it's mostly just sound effects. There's nothing like do, 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 do. Nope, just ambience. But they sound good, and given it's hell, I wouldn't expect there to be music. But there are a few compositions for the bonus round and the title screen, which sound good. They were also composed by the legendary Koji Kondo. Nintendo has been known to have excellent sound and character design, and even in one of their weirdest and most obscure games, it's still very apparent. Okay, not always. When it comes to content, you gotta keep in mind, this is an NES game, mere kilobytes in size. A clip of me in this video saying mere kilobytes in size has more data in it than an NES game. And this is also a very early NES game at that, so most of the content is exactly what you've seen here. It's the same pattern of eating dots, sealing the gates, and the bonus rounds, and it progressively gets more difficult, so this is definitely an arcade game at its heart. But there is also multiplayer, and it's not your typical take turns multiplayer. We have actual co-op. This is something that should be in every maze game, and it's just as fun in Devil World. The second player takes control of a red Tamagon, proving my point that yeah, these guys are definitely related to Yoshi's. Maybe if it had 4-player support, there could be a yellow one who could jump and shake the ground, and a blue one that could fly. But nope, these guys play identically despite being green and red. Actually, make that red and green, that sounds better. Considering co-op can make clearing mazes quicker, your experience will be different with a friend or alone. But regardless, Devil World has the content you'd expect from an early NES game, and doesn't feel lacking. And it still has more variety than Mario Strikers Battle League. So far I've established Devil World is a very strange game that clearly aspires to be like Pac-Man, but has its own twists such as the theming and the mechanics, but the main auto-scrolling gimmick didn't really enhance the game. The presentation is also great, and the addition of co-op was a surprise, yet very welcome. So what's the verdict? Devil World is the definition of a weird game. Not in the sense that there's a lot wrong with it, but come on! A red and green dragon on a quest to stop the devil by eating dots and turning enemies into eggs? It's definitely a Miyamoto production. I would absolutely love to hear what his inspirations were. We know Pac-Man is one of them, but I'd sure like to know where the other ideas for the game came from. But there are two things I wanted to address before reaching the final verdict. Obviously, Nintendo of America was wary about releasing it, which they ultimately decided not to. But the thing is, Devil World has nothing to do with the Bible or Christianity. All they need to do is change the religious references, and they'd be set to go. They actually did that in WarioWare Get It Together, but as a Christian myself, I don't find the game blasphemous or horrible. I just find it strange, and the game deserves another chance. But even so, the game isn't anything spectacular. You're better off playing any game in the Pac-Man series if you want maze games, especially Pac-Man Arrangement. I'm not sure if I'd call Devil World a gem, but it's worth experiencing just for the novelty. Devil World gets the ranking of a treat, but nowhere near as grand as something like a full-size chocolate bar, and it wasn't worth going to hell over. So there you have it. Here's a retrospective of one of Nintendo's weirdest games out there. If you've played Devil World, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments and keep calm and dada on.